Hi guys, hope all of you guys are doing well. My name is Ibad and welcome back to my channel Finico. In this video, we're going to speak about returns. The kind of returns what an investor makes in his or her portfolio, or the returns what an investor makes in an investment or an asset what he or she is invested in. The return is an intensive concept to talk about. So I'm not going to speak about all kinds of returns in one video. However, this being the part one, will then be another part two, which would be coming in the following week. In this part one of the video, I'm going to tell you about the net present value, the internal rate of return, the holding period return, the time weighted rate of return, and the money weighted rate of return. Okay, so let's start with the concept of the returns. The most important and the famous form of the returns being the net present value, the NPV. Now, the NPV by its very definition is the present value of all cash inflows which comes in a company and the present value of all cash outflows which goes outside the company or in an investment. Like I said, you're investing in a portfolio per se. At a respective cost of capital, or also known as the interest rate. Now, what you do over here is that, say for example, that you are investing in an investment, which is over here. $5 million is your initial cost, what you have invested or what you're planning to invest in an investment, and the cash inflows told to you by your advisors would be 1.6 million in year 1, 2.4 million in year 2, and 2.8 million in year 3. All of these being in year 1, year 2, year 3 being the cash inflows. So you got to take the financial calculator, the cash outflows being the initial investment being at 5 million, compute it with the cash inflows being 1.6 million, 2.4 million, 2.8 million at a cost of capital being at 12%. You will derive with an NPV of 334,800. Now, the very simple concept of net present value is that if you have a positive value, you accept the investment. I mean the investment what you've planned for, and if it is a return in a portfolio what you get, then what better? However, it's a no-brainer that if the very answer is in a negative, you decline it through. Now this is where capital budgeting comes in a picture. Investment analysis comes in a picture. And in terms of, it holds a very important, fundamental, significant part and a concept of investment analysis and capital budgeting, which is used by investment managers all across the world. A very similar concept to net present value being your internal rate of return, IRR, which we use all the same concept. However, in the financial calculator, all you have to compute is the IRR and you get a figure of 15.52%. But there is a caveat. The caveat being is, would you go on to accept an investment, or would the return of the portfolio be good if it is less than the interest rate? Over here, as you could see, it's 15.52%, which is higher than the 12%, the cost of capital, also known as the interest rate, which is a good. However, if this very 15.52 was less than the cost of capital, say for example a 10% IRR or a 9.5% IRR, you do not follow through by the very concept and the definition of capital budgeting. And at the same time, there are also dementia and confusions being sprawled around. That let's just say that if there were two kinds of investments, being mutually exclusive or independent, then what your out might be. But before that, I would like to define what mutually exclusive investments and independent investments are. Mutually exclusive investment is, say for example, this and here. this being investment A, being investment B. That's the very figure shape of a mutually exclusive investment. You can only choose either one of the two. Say for example, you have a company, okay? You are confused. Can I act, and do I actually go on to expand my company? And I want to expand my company, but do I actually go on to acquire a target company, thus expansion of a company? Or do I just go on to open more branches? And that could also be an expansion. The size of your company would definitely increase, but the size of the investment more or less being the same. That is when you take your capital budgeting, your net present value, and your internal rate of return. The size of the investment being the same, but the cash inflows would differ, or probably at some circumstances would significantly differ. That is when you use your NPV and your IRR and you come to a judgment. Which investment should you take and which you should not take? However, when it comes to independent projects, you have two sides of investments, A and B, and they are both independent to each other. Here, you can choose both the investments if you have the cash to, if you have the money to, and you can go on with both the investments. However, there is another crucial important part about the NPV and the IRR, which brings me back to the mutually exclusive mutually exclusive investments. Say for example, for the company A, if the net present value of company A was higher than the net present value of company B, but the internal rate of return of company A is less than the internal return of the investment B or the company B, then at that point of time, the net present value will always be taken. The superior net present value, basically your investment A or your company A, would be taken, would be regarded as per the definition of capital budgeting. Okay? Now I would like to take you guys to a second concept known as holding period return, the acronym as HPR. Holding period return is the overall return what an investor goes on to make in his or her portfolio, or an investment what he or she has made in an asset. Say for example, the US Treasury bill, okay, like the T-bill, the 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, has been purchased for $980 at year 1, okay? This very Treasury bill has gone on to increase by $992 in year 2. And you say that, just like equities, by the way, debts and bonds could also be sold. But I don't want to get into that part of the concept because there's a lot to talk about. I just want to be consistent. So $992 is what the Treasury bill has been sold for. It had been purchased for $980. So by the concept of the holding period return, your ending value, which is $992, would be in your numerator. Your beginning value at $980, would be your, at the denominator, -1, you get a figure of 1.22%. Calculation of the holding period return is one of the most simple form of the return what you can go on to calculate for you, for yourself, if you have gone to, if you have a portfolio of your own, and investment what you have made in, even in one asset, just like I've gone on to show you, in a security being the Treasury bill, or if you are managing portfolio for your clients, these are the kind of returns, the HPR, what the clients actually going to rely on. But as I said, there are many different kinds of forms of returns. 3 of the returns being covered, the other return being the money weighted rate of return. Now the money weighted rate of return goes on to apply the concept of the internal rate of return, where both the cash inflows and the cash outflows are embraced. Essentially, that's is in this example, what I've gone to present for your understanding. Let's say that at time 0, if I have invested right now, being at time 0, which is year 0, a share has been purchased for 100 USD. I want to purchase another share the next year at time 1, which is year 1, at 120. But there is a caveat, which implies over here, is that you will go on to earn $2 per share. So you will go on to earn $2 per 100, I mean the share which you have purchased, $2 per share, and $2 for the next share which you had purchased for $120. So according to the concept of your money weighted rate of return, your 100 would be your cash outflow in your financial calculator, which you will go on to compute. For your next year would be 118. And why 118? Because just as aforementioned, you are getting a $2 dividend per share. So 120 minus 2, okay, 120 minus 2, the $2 dividend, okay, the $2 dividend will yield you 118. Now the next year, the next to next year, at year 2, you've decided, oh well, I would like to sell these shares. And remarkably and miraculously enough, both the equities is now yielding $130 each. If you multiply 130 into 2, you get 260. But where did this 264 come from? It's because $2 dividend per share, which you have to apply in this concept over here, and because that's a cash inflow rather than a cash outflow in your financial calculator, that would be positive sign. When you compute it as an internal rate of return, you get the answer 13.86%. That is your money weighted rate of return. Now, last but not the least, I'm going to end up with the time weighted rate of return. What is time weighted rate of return and how is it different from the money weighted rate of return? Some concepts being similar to the money weighted rate of return, but the most important significant distinction, what it distincts itself from the money weighted rate of return, is that it uses and implies the concept of compound interest, of compound growth. This is the compound interest and the compound growth which has gone on to make Goliaths of investors, the value investors, being Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. The compound interest basically uses the effect of compounding just not on your principal value but also in your interest value. And well, an example I would like to show you guys across, if I could just, okay, the example what we had taken in your money weighted rate of return would be similar to the time weighted rate of return. What would be the difference is the concept. So you have got your beginning value, which is 100, okay, ending value is 120. The dividend what you will earn is $2. Obviously for the share what you have purchased, $2 will be given to you per share. The next year, okay, which is, this is at say year 1, the next year your beginning value becomes 240. 120 for two shares becomes 240. Your dividend over here, because of 2 shares, would be 4. Your ending value would be, because you are selling both the shares, just like in the money weighted rate of return, in the time weighted rate of return, you will be selling both of the shares. That would be your 260. Now, how do you compute it? Is basically your 120 plus 2, your 120 plus 2 divided by 100 minus 1 will give you a figure of 22%. Okay, the next one being 260 plus 4 divided by 240 minus 1 will give you a figure of 10%. Yeah, will give you a figure of 10%. Now it doesn't end over here. Now, by the concept of the time weighted rate of return, this 22% would be added plus 1. So 1.22, because 22 percentage to a whole number, okay, would be 1.22 into 1.10, because your 10%, your percentage will then be converted to a whole number. So 1.10, and because there's 2 years, it would be 0.5, because 1 divided by 2 is equals to 0.5. That would be 0.5 over here minus 1. Okay, I'm sorry if you guys can't, because this is basically 0.5 minus 1. The answer, the final value of the answer, what you will be getting is 15.84%. Okay, your time weighted rate of return, as you can see, 15.84% is more than your money weighted rate of return. One of the main reasons why is because it goes on to apply the concept of the compound interest, the compound growth, that very compounding which is just not based upon your principal value, but is also based on the interest which one goes on to earn on a yearly basis from one period of time to the other. Certainly enough, that very compounding could be done on a daily basis, could be done on a monthly basis, could be done on a quarterly basis, could be done on a semi-annually basis. Whatever the concept and whatever the questions might be, your price weighted rate of return will always be superior to your money weighted rate of return. Okay, so this brings an end to this part of the video, the part 1. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to post the questions. I will be reverting to you, and I will be making the part 2 very soon, most probably in the following week. Thank you so much. Please subscribe if you want to see more of the finance and economic videos which I will be posting, and do not forget to hit the like button. Thank you.